10 minutes ago. Okay. This is Psalm 43. Psalmist writes, "Grant me justice, O God. Defend me from a faithless people. From the deceitful and unjust, rescue me. You, O God, are my strength. Why then do you spurn me? Why must I go about mourning with the enemy oppressing me? Send your light and your fidelity, that they may be my guide. Let them bring me to your holy mountain, to the place of your dwelling, that I may come to the altar of God, to God my joy, my delight. Then I will praise you with the harp, O God my God. Why are you downcast, my soul? Why do you groan within me? Wait for God, for I shall again praise him, my Savior and my God." Now I wanted to begin with that particular psalm because there's such a roller coaster of emotion. The psalmist begins with this sense of being completely dejected, being oppressed and basically crushed. It seems hopeless. And yet the place that animates him, that returns joy to his heart, is when he encounters God's love. He comes to the mountain of God, when he comes to the altar of God. And I think that's such a powerful image because it's what I think is embedded just in our natural human experience of faith. No matter where we kind of wander, no matter what goes on in life, no matter what distracts us from our practice, the altar of God, the liturgy, is the place that we consistently return. In our greatest sorrows, in our greatest joys, in our greatest moments of need, in our greatest celebrations. And so you, as liturgical ministers, not only are called to that same journey in faith, but you're actually called to facilitate that truth for others. That mystery of what it is to encounter the God that accepts our heart as it is and transforms it. That which takes place in this sacred space. And so, I think probably the most raw experience we often have of that is the passing of a loved one, right? In fact, this morning we celebrated a funeral here for a woman who's nearly 90 years old, a testament of hope in her family, having lost several of her children, her husband, early on in her life. And it was a profoundly intimate funeral. Maybe a quarter of this little section was even full of people. And yet this is where they came. They came to bring her to this altar. A few weeks ago, we celebrated Ken Sanchez's funeral. And our space was not big enough. Many of you were here for the rosary. There was hundreds of people spilling outside. And many of you assisting, we literally picked up our church and took it to the Kiva Auditorium. In that space, too, we welcomed not just the intimate family members and friends of the one who passed, but a whole community, a whole city. In the same way, people, not even necessarily knowing that that's what their heart was longing for, turned to bring themselves to the altar of God, the place of God's love. And I use those examples because I think they're the things we relate most easily to. Of course, in this coming weekend, we'll be celebrating baptisms here, countless weddings that take place in our church each year. It's also moments of great joy, great celebration, great hope. But within all of that, it speaks to the transforming power that the liturgy gives to us in our human nature, far and above any kind of intellectual awareness. Because liturgy is inherently an encounter with mystery. It's an encounter with something far beyond our actual understanding. And it's why we come to this place over and over and over. And why sometimes it can seem rote and boring. Because we're encountering something so far beyond our understanding that we can spend a lifetime chipping away at that truth, trying to recognize what is taking place in our heart with this encounter with God and this place where God's presence meets our lives. And so when we speak about what motivates us to be liturgical ministers, I think most of us say, well, we want to serve God, want to do something, to give ourselves to God. And that is a beautiful motivation. But when we're talking about service in the liturgy, I think we find our greatest meaning, our greatest fulfillment, and our greatest purpose when we recognize concretely what that looks like. And I think the second Eucharistic prayer really enlightens that one. Now this is something you would rarely hear, at least here, on a Sunday. If you come to daily Mass, you hear it almost every day. And so, after the words of consecration, the prayer continues. Therefore, as we celebrate the memorial of his death and resurrection, we offer you, Lord, the bread of life and the chalice of salvation, giving thanks that you have held us worthy to be in your presence and minister to you. Giving thanks that you have held us worthy to be in your presence and minister to you. So what does that mean, to minister to God in his presence? When we come to the liturgy, I think having a depth of understanding of where we encounter the presence of God becomes fundamental in recognizing how our particular ministries begin to unfold that truth, how we actually serve as ministers to God. And it's one of the things I love most about this space for worship, is because it highlights so clearly the different ways in which we encounter God's holy presence. The first place, obviously, most of us would think of in the context of liturgy is in the elements of bread and wine that become the body and blood, soul, and divinity of Christ, right? And that's what most people focus on. And so the largest object in our whole worship space, and the very center of the space, is our massive altar. I think it's quite possibly one of the largest altars in the Archdiocese. It's larger than the altar of the cathedral, at least. And so people come here and they say, oh, Holy Rosary, this like kind of liturgically progressive community, you don't have no reverence for the Eucharist. They say, have you seen our altar? I don't know what more can be a testament to the belief that God comes to be among his people than this. So that's the central focus of our space. But we also come here believing that we encounter God fully present in his sacred scripture, in his revealed word to us. And so we have very clear emblem raised with the throne of the gospel work behind it, the place from which the word of God is proclaimed to us. We also believe that we encounter God in the presider. That's why not only do we wear particular vestments for Mass, but the chair for the presider. The deacons are distinct. To say that there's something unique about that role. Now the presider is presiding, quite literally, at the celebration, serving as the head of the body of Christ. But the presider is not the only presence of Christ among those who are gathered. In fact, the Church teaches us that the body of Christ gathered in the assembly is also, just like the bread and wine that become the body and blood, sacred scripture, and the one serving as the head of the body is Christ present to us. And so, in the arrangement of our church, not only does it give us great proximity to the altar, but it also allows us to see the truth of Christ's presence in one another. And so, as we think of, and as we kind of pray over and encounter what it means to serve in your particular roles in your liturgical ministries, it's a reflection of how you are encountering, sharing, and facilitating those different presences of our encounter with God. So if you're an usher, you're welcoming the body of Christ as it comes together. And those of you Eucharistic ministers also that can sometimes serve as greeters and others. As ushers, you facilitate the movement of that heart. And as we come forward to receive the sacred elements, as we prepare ourselves and organize ourselves for all the choreographic movements of our liturgy. If you're a lector and you proclaim God's word, the power of what it is to give voice to God. The sacred text of God's word being shared through you. You're not reading a cookbook. You're not reading a New York Times editorial. You're not reading a Dear Abby column. What a profound privilege that is, to be a conduit of the voice of God. If you're an altar server, you're the one who assists in bringing all that is necessary together. The prayers and the movements and the books and the elements, the chalices. So that God's presence can be visibly, tangibly felt in our midst. So that God's holy people can receive Him. To be the hands that allow that movement and truth to become visible. If you're a Eucharistic minister, as you assist in preparation of the altar, but as you also distribute the body and blood of Christ. What it is to nourish Christ present in the assembly with His presence in the sacramental species. And how profound that truly is. And so your role as liturgical ministers is not about all the choreography and the standing in the right place and saying the right thing. Those are important elements. Coming together, they allow the larger experience to unfold. But principally, your ministry is about not only encountering the presence of God Himself, but being a witness to and a conduit of that presence to all those gathered. Because truly, if we understand the liturgy well, there are not participants and spectators. Everyone who is present is celebrating. The whole assembly is part of the celebration. In fact, Benedict XVI was one who did not like the idea of the term celebrant. It's like the priest is not the celebrant. The priest presides over a celebration. But we're all constitutive, necessary parts of it. And as we gather here, the challenge of continually opening ourselves to that mystery unfolding, because it's very easy to get kind of distracted by the superficial veneer of stuff, and get bored by the repetition of things, or distracted by what's happening on the other side of the church, or some other minister that didn't do the right thing, and then we're frustrated and flustered and don't know what to do. But in the midst of all of that, when we come to realize what we're actually having the privilege to be witness to is not our own doing, and yet God uses our work. Because the term liturgy quite literally means the work of the people. And so it's God's presence coming to be known through what we do. And insofar as that's true, we do nothing at all, because it's all grace. It's all the movement of the Holy Spirit in our midst. And so we can witness that, and we can trust in that, we can believe in that. Then we ourselves also too are transformed. And some of the other elements in our church that emphasize the depth of the mystery of what we encounter. And this is something that often sounds kind of crazy to Catholics. But the foundation of our understanding of liturgy, because remember, our liturgy comes from thousands of years ago, before scientific revolutions and all sorts of quantifications of things. From a very mystical awareness of the movement of God. We believe that time and space cease when we gather in this place. And that we are present at God's heavenly banquet. That we are all called to be at the supper of the Lamb. And so as we look around our church and we see all these beautiful images of the saints that are embracing us, they're not just catechetical tools to remind us that, oh yes, there were holy people that once existed before us, and we should probably try to be like them. as part of it. But they're a representation of that which we cannot see but is truly present. It's the hosts of heaven. All the angels and saints gathered with us in this place. It's also one of the beautiful things about the funeral liturgies, because I can't help but imagine the presence of the loved ones who we may be mourning more deeply there than we ever could have known in their lifetime. And so, as we gather, we encounter the whole journey of Christ's life. When we sing the Gloria, it's as though we are at the Nativity with the angels and the shepherds. When we fraction the consecrated bread as Christ's body, it's as though we're at the foot of Calvary as his body was broken. When we proclaim, Holy, 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 Lord God of hosts, it's as though we're around God's throne in the book of Revelation, singing his praises. And as all of that is unfolding before us, it's not just unfolding as a gift for us, but those of us who have been charged and called with this purpose of service to this mystery have the unique privilege of having been called worthy to be in his presence and minister to him, to unfold the truth of God's presence in and amidst and for God's people. And so it's in all of that that we come to discover the depth of what our ministry means, not just here at this altar. Because this is something you may not have heard before, but because in the church when we speak of ministry, we use it in a very broad sense. Rotary would like to talk about the fact that we have over more than 50 ministries. It's a sign of how vibrant our community is, the diversity of people that we represent, and all the different ways we can give of ourselves in service, which is true. But another layer to that is that canonically, officially in the church, the word ministry with like a capital M is reserved for liturgical action, for liturgical service, for you. And so to serve in liturgical ministries is the primary ministry of the church. And how can that be if the majority activity of the church in many ways is actually not seen in this space, but throughout the whole community? Think of all the great works of charity and catechetical formation, evangelization, and outreach, and all that sort of stuff that so many are engaged in. Well, it's because what it means to serve God, to minister to him, to be in his presence here, is what forms our hearts to live a life as his body beyond these walls. Christ is not confined to these walls. As beautiful as the worship spaces we have, this is not the totality of where Jesus exists, not the extent of God's presence and power. And so I look to Mother Teresa as a profound example of this truth. She had an immense devotion to the Eucharist. She would spend an hour in adoration each day. She would stay on stressful days, and I have no idea how she did this. I can't achieve it myself. But when she was more stressed, she'd spend 2 hours in adoration a day, where she found that extra hour. God's grace, I think. The testament actually to trusting in putting prayer over all of our other stuff. But she's also the one who insisted that her service to the most marginalized, the most untouchable people in society was not because Christ said, oh, go do this, but because they were in fact the presence of Christ before her. And so to come to know the depth of what it means to encounter God here is what begins to open our hearts to know what God looks like in the world. And when we return to this place, to have that deepen, to bring back all of the faces of Christ that we've seen, and know that those faces are the ones speaking these sacred words. Those faces are the ones that we're receiving at the sacred meal. Those faces are the ones that have been redeemed by the sacrifice that we encounter. And so that becomes kind of the rhythm of our life as ministers. And for me, it's one of the greatest joys of serving in this community is because we have such a large number of liturgical ministers so deeply committed to what this means. When I go other places, I'm always astounded by how few people are involved in the liturgy, how few servers there are around, how many times someone who's in the choir is also the lector, is also helping to set the altar. How overlooked those roles can be. And yet how central and significant they are to us as a life of faith, because the liturgy is the source and summit of who we are. And so if what our life of faith does not come from the altar, it does not lead us back to that place with our hearts, then we're not living a life as Catholic Christians. Because the depth of who we are is rooted in God's mystery continually unfolding before us. And so for me, I think it's obviously as a priest and a sacramental minister, it's of significant importance. But it's been a foundation in my entire journey of faith. Some of you I know have heard this before, but some of you have not. When I was a child, I was not raised as a Catholic. I became Catholic when I was 7. And it was because my parents were Unitarian Universalists. They still are. And their church services are kind of devoid of any liturgy. Sing a hymn, you'll have a very intellectually provocative, very long sermon, sing another hymn, and go. And there was something in me that said, this doesn't feel to me like religion. It doesn't feel to me like an encounter with God. And so I asked my parents if we could go to different churches. So they took me to all sorts of different places. And as we would continually hear about how important Jesus was at all these different places, it was when we came to the Catholic Church that they made this crazy claim that Christ was actually present in the Blessed Sacrament and that he was reserved in a tabernacle. In my mind, as a child, I just kind of heard that Jesus lives in a box. But the idea that Jesus was actually physically there, and not just someone we talk about, but someone we could encounter, changed the whole direction of my life. And I said, this is what I want to do. I want to be Catholic. Had that never happened, I would not have been here today. And in my own discernment toward priesthood, that was a huge movement. Even as I became a religious brother, and I thought, well, I have all these kind of career aspirations in other directions. And I could do that as a brother. But the truth of God's presence in the sacraments kept calling to my heart. So I said, well, I think that means God is calling me to be a priest. But to be a priest is not something that exists in isolation. It's something that exists in relationship with all of you. And so it's such an immense joy and pleasure to be able to serve alongside you in unveiling the presence of God's mystery in the midst of his people. It's such a profound responsibility, something none of us are truly worthy of. And I think that's the greatest joy in serving at the liturgy, is when we can have those moments when we realize what God is unfolding before us, that we are able to witness the presence of grace, not because of anything I did, not because of my power, not because of my gifts, but because God has called me to be present in that moment and to minister to it. And so I'm very grateful for what you all do, for your presence here, your investment and your care for our community of faith and for our liturgical celebrations. I'm inspired by your commitment, and I give thanks for being able to be here as your pastor and serve at this altar with all of you. So thank you so much for being here. I know it's been a long evening. Thank you for your patience in waiting for me. We look forward to many, many more celebrations in which we can encounter and minister to God here in this place.